So in today's video I'm going to be comparing two guitars, two Jazzmasters, two J Mascis Jazzmasters. Now the first one is the SQUIER version, which is made in China, definitely the more budget friendly of the two, and the second one is the Fender Japan version, which is a beautiful looking guitar. Needless to say, is a little bit more expensive. Now the bulk of the video will be taken up with sound samples because I wanted people to hear that there is a difference in these two particular guitars, certainly sound wise. But I'll also go over the specs of the guitars. I'll maybe do that after the clean sound samples right in the middle of the video, and then at the end of the video I will give you my opinion on these two guitars. So first of all, let's hear some clean sound samples. For each sample I will put the name of the amp. I'm using my Kemper. I'll put the name of the amp and then we'll try it on each position. So these are two different Fender amps. So let's hear some clean sound samples. Let's look at the specs of these two guitars. Now I got the information on the Fender one from the internet because it's been out of production for so long. So they both have the same style of vintage Jazzmaster style of tremolo. The Fender one has Fender stamped on it. There is nothing stamped on the SQUIER one. Same style of bridge, like a Gibson ABR1 style of bridge. The posts on the SQUIER one do have the screw heads like you would see on a lot of Chinese instruments. Now here's the thing, the bridge is actually further away from the tailpiece on the Fender version. I think that's more traditional than it is on the SQUIER. So they both have gold anodized pickguards. Body material, I couldn't find what the Fender one's made from, but the SQUIER one is described as basswood or basswood. They both have jumbo frets. The fingerboard on the SQUIER one is Indian laurel, the fingerboard on the Fender one is rosewood. Couldn't find what the Fender nut is made from. The SQUIER one I think is just described as SSP or something like that, or PPS, sorry. So there's the headstock, matching the headstock on the Fender one. SQUIER one just has the SQUIER logo. Let's look at the back of the headstock. The Fender one has a J Mascis signature. I think they've both got similar tuners as well. The SQUIER by Fender J Mascis. Now here's the nut width on the Fender, 42.97. Nut width on the SQUIER, 42.57. Now these are my measurements. The 12th fret on the Fender is 51.86mm wide. The width on the SQUIER one is 51.55 wide, and there's a neck profile at the 1st fret and 12th fret of the Fender and the 1st fret and 12th fret of the SQUIER. So let's look at the strap box. Now I think everything on these guitars, all the hardware is chrome. I mean, I guess the stuff on the SQUIER is probably a bit cheaper made to keep the cost down. But they look pretty similar on both guitars. I mean, they both do the job, both hold the strap on, as it were. So let's look at the neck plate. So the neck plate on the Fender one doesn't have anything written on it. It does have crafted in Japan on a sticker on the bottom of the neck, and the neck plate on the SQUIER one has SQUIER by Fender. So let's look at the pickup measurements. So the bridge on the Fender is 5.82. The bridge on the SQUIER a bit higher, 7.89. The middle position on the Fender 2.96. The middle position on the SQUIER 3.92. Again, I think all these readings are all a bit higher on the SQUIER one. Fender neck 5.86, and the SQUIER neck measures at 7.6. So yes, a bit hotter output on the SQUIER ones. So which one do I prefer? Well, I'm kind of going to sit on the fence on this one because these guitars are designed for different budgets, really. I mean, you can pick up one of the Squier ones, I think for just over £500. To get a second-hand Fender Japan, I think you're looking at about £2,000. So these are for different budgets, and they're both really, really good guitars. You know, for just over £500, this SQUIER J Mascis Jazzmaster is just a great guitar. It plays great, and truth be told, for me, from my personal choice, I prefer the pickups on this. These are P90-ish. I don't know if they're exactly P90s, but they're more P90-ish anyway than traditional Jazzmaster pickups. So for me, the old rock guy with the grey beard, I just prefer the pickups on this. So ironically enough, sound-wise, I prefer the more budget-friendly guitar. I think if I got one of these, the more expensive Fender one, I think I would change the pickups for sure, because traditional Jazzmaster pickups for me are a little bit thin. Now, I think a lot of people will actually prefer the traditional sound of the pickups which are in the Japanese version, but if you're looking for something that has a bit more body in it, a bit more girth, if I can use that in a YouTube video in 2024, a bit more girth, I think the SQUIER one is maybe what you're looking for sound-wise. So they are both great guitars, they both play really well. Which one do I think plays better? I think I prefer the neck shape on the Fender one. This particular version, and I think all the new versions of the SQUIER one, does have an Indian Laurel fingerboard. The Fender Japan one has a rosewood fingerboard. So I guess traditionalists will prefer the rosewood fingerboard on this. But to sum up, these are both really good guitars. For the money, for just over £500 for this crazy good price for a great guitar. For one of these, you're going to have to invest a bit more, but it is absolutely stunning. As I've said, for me, I might change the pickups on this. They're a bit thin for me. So which one do I think you should get? I think you should get the one which fits your budget best. If you prefer a slightly thicker, warmer sound, the Squire's the one for you. If you got this and you wanted that sound, you may need to change the pickups in this to get that. So I think I've kind of sat on the fence with this one. Both are really good guitars. Which one you should get depends on what your budget is, because I don't think you'd be disappointed in either of these two fine guitars. As ever folks, it's a privilege and a pleasure bringing you content on Dunsy's Guitar World. Cheers for now.